And today, the most influential person in my life has been this woman right here in front of me. And it's an honor to have you on, Pauline. 20 years I walked into your office and I never looked back. Until today, I'm still there.
Not every week. Please precise that.
Not every week. Yes. And I'm going to talk about that because I think we should cover that.
Yes, we should.
That's the sign of a good therapist.
I think so.
And her husband, David, which last minute, I'm like, you know what? Jumping on since we're talking about relationships because we have real experience, wisdom to share with the world. And especially today, so many people talk about relationships and you hear so much of these quotes that all these gurus write, misinformation, all these relationship experts giving advice. And I'm listening to this stuff from someone who's been worked with you for 20 years, someone who's been married, divorced, one toxic, bad relationship after another until I met who I'm with today.
Yes.
And I'm going to start with the one thing that you told me. And I think that everybody needs to know. I got divorced and I jumped from one relationship to another. I'll never forget what you told me. You said, Nick, now you're going to take the ship and you're going to coast it. You're going to learn to be alone, go to the restaurant alone, eat alone, learn to be with yourself. And it was probably 2 of the best years in the sense to work on myself and to learn about myself. I was like a ninja. I'll say, guys, I was like a ninja, like a Buddha. I didn't even touch a woman for 2 years. I'm going to say it very honest. I wasn't running after women. I wasn't chasing. I took that moment to just first heal all those
absolutely
traumatic and bad relationships, and just took 2 years to work on myself. So where do we start? I mean, do we start with that, Pauline?
I think the beauty of what you did, Nick, was to really integrate the lessons you were going through. Because not everybody does that. People have a tendency to repeat. I love what Einstein used to say, the definition of stupidity is doing the same thing and expecting different results, right? So in your case, because I know you so well, you took each lesson and learned and deepened and really got something from it.
It was, Dave, what do you were married, divorced. Did you go through that?
It's interesting the 2 years you mentioned, because I was divorced and I didn't touch a woman for 2 years as well.
I guess
it's about the time period, and you go through a reflection of what went wrong and what you did wrong yourself. You can't just blame the other 100%.
100%.
You got to look at yourself because you allowed it to happen.
Yeah.
You allowed it to happen.
That was one thing. And Pauline, I'm going to say this because this is probably like the men watching. And I think this applies both for men or women. There's certain things that you taught me and you guided me that I still, that I applied. And I remember I made a list of all the women I dated and everything they had in common.
Yes.
Right? And then I realized, okay, there's a formula here that doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly.
And now you told me you're going to write everything you want that you would like from a partner.
Yeah.
And obviously take out this formula because this formula attracted, and I'm going to own my own bullshit.
Wonderful.
They were very pretty, into themselves, this type of narcissistic. And that's said about my insecurities, right? So you know me, I always call myself out. Then I made a list, and I remember the list. The first one was kindness. I wanted somebody kind, caring, dependent.
I remember.
And I changed my whole list, and I said, and I remember you told me, until you find this, you don't settle. Because I used to so many of us just settle. We meet somebody, we're like, okay, we're going to make this work. We're going to put so much effort. I'm going to do whatever it takes. But like you told me, I remember if the recipe is not, if the ingredients are not good, you're never, the cake's never going to come together. You're never going to make a cake.
Absolutely. I like to use metaphor in life in general. And I think there's one more thing that I might have added, and I do add this for everybody in relationships. Now that you have a good list of what you think you want, how will you discuss, argue, fight with this person? How do you want this to be? You want to find a maid that's going to pout for 3 days and not talk to you?
I've been there. No,
Exactly.
I have zero patience for that.
Exactly. So it's not only what I want, but how do I want to live the difficult moments with that person?
I want to talk about that because, you know, I remember I was dating one girl. She'd be like, babe, couples that fight together stay together. And I'm like, kids fight. Like, I mean, I don't want to sit there and fight. I don't have the energy or the time. But we have this idea that we're supposed to be in relationships where we fight and there's a drama and there's a struggle and there's...
Adults discuss, children fight.
I completely agree, you know?
This is wrong passion
Passion.
for some people. They think that because they fight hard and they really tear each other's hair, it's part of love. You know, we're passionate. No, you're kids. You never grew up. Or you're copying a pattern that you might have seen in your own parents, and you think this is how it has to be. So we all have to revise what we were taught. Otherwise, we repeat incessantly.
How do you communicate, both of you together? Let me ask, how long have you been together?
25.
Yeah.
And you were divorced too, right?
Yeah.
Yes. After 20. After 20.
Yeah.
I'm old.
And so after 20, how old were you when you got divorced?
Oh my God.
43, 2.
You're really putting me on the spot here, you know.
It's okay. At least you don't remember. It's fine. And then that's interesting, right? You were married for 20 years. Were you happily married?
In the beginning, but for the wrong reasons. You know, when you're young, you have to look for character, and when you're young, you think with your wrong head.
Yes. That's Dave. You nailed it. It's true. Guys, stop doing that.
Exactly right. Because if you go down that route, you push away all the other important things in a relationship, and you give it all up to that, and that can last for a while, but it's not long term.
So I have a saying that I say, Pauline. I say, guys, sex doesn't pay the bills.
Mm-hmm.
At the end, you could, you know, and I say, what else do you bring to the table? What else? Like you know, no matter how much you're going to get out of it, what else is it? It's definitely not enough. But we have this idea that, oh, it's the first thing. And I think people are twisted. They meet, they hook up, they sleep together. They don't take the time to get to know each other.
Are you going to be honest? Are you going to be faithful? Are you going to consider the other person's feelings? That's very important in a relationship.
So you were married for 20 years, and then
It deteriorated during the 20 years, I assure you. You hang on, you try to make it work. You got kids, you try to make it work.
So many people do that.
Then it finally fails, and it blows up in your face. And you pick up the pieces and move on. And you try to learn from the big mistakes you made along the way. And a lot of that is sweeping issues under the table.
Good point.
Little things that bother you and you don't attend to, you have to attend to those little things or they grow.
Well said.
Or they grow. Yeah.
There's a saying that I have developed since, let me think, probably 35 years old. There's one point in life where I understood that if you were with the right person, a conflict is a source of growth. But you got to be two to do it. If you're only one side doing it, then eventually you give up, you break up, you separate, whatever, because it has to be mutual. And if you can get that in your mind, that a conflict is a source of growth, you're not going to be afraid to talk, speak up, pronounce your truth, sometimes confront. Okay? If you don't do these things, you, like David said, you're passing stuff under the carpet, and eventually it makes a bump. Yeah.
A big bump. The longer it goes, the bigger the bump.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so many people do that. I see it where
Yes.
I talk to men and they're unhappy. Men who are
Yes.
cheating, men who stay together for the kids. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you're wasting your life. And I remember when I got divorced, my son was 2. And I knew, I was going to do it either when he was 5, 10, 15, 20. I knew I was going to do it one day. But might as well pull the plug sooner than later.
Yeah.
Bite the bullet. I'm still young and rebuild my life. Whereas I look at men and they do this wrong thing, Paul, and maybe they stay together for the kids.
Yeah, but they end up sick too.
Right.
They end up sick. More and more men, more and more younger men have heart attacks much younger.
Because of being in these relationships.
That's it.
The stress.
Chronic stress. Yeah.
Yes, it's such a big stress. And of course, they end up if you look at the COVID time, I'm in a situation to tell you that many, many more couples were forced to consult because they got caught 24/7
They had to
together.
be together.
You were probably very busy that.
You bet. And then add the kids in there, not going to school, not going to,
Yeah.
garderie or whatever. And then couples just exploded, which is a good thing in a way if they have found the proper way to resolve it and
If you
talk
can
about
solve it. Yeah.
So what's the secret to communication? How do you both communicate?
I think it's honesty.
Took the words out of my mouth.
I think that's the main thing.
Beautiful. That's all it is.
Honesty. It doesn't mean you have to jump on each other. It means I learned something a long time ago from one of my mentors about training for couples that I did. Dr. Hendricks used to say, take an appointment with your mate, with your spouse. Take an appointment. Don't take them or her or him by surprise. Ask them bluntly, clearly, darling, I need to talk to you about something important. When do you want to take the time? And the answer has to be an answer of time. It can be why, what's wrong, what's going on. No. When do you want to take the time? Because if you don't have a when answer, like right now, tomorrow night, in 2 days, I don't care, then you ensue in a psychological game.
That's something. You made me read the games that people play.
Yes.
You made me read some really books when I read them. And that's one thing that I noticed that, I don't want to say women, men probably do too. A lot of games and relationships, a lot of people who are just not honest with their real intentions.
To begin with.
Yeah.
So if they're not honest to begin with, it becomes like a theater piece. And then you get nowhere because... And that's something Dr. Hendricks used to say, in a good fight, both win. In a psychological game fight, nobody wins. And you don't resolve anything. So that's, for me, a fundamental to remember.
You end up just spinning your wheels. It's just like a game. And I've noticed when I see couples play that, it never goes anywhere. No. And then inevitable, they just either break up or one of them ends up cheating because there's no real authenticity to why they're doing it.
You know, in 30 years of being a therapist, I quite often hear a woman or a man. Men are consulting much more than 20, 30 years ago, which I'm very happy about.
Oh, good.
But I will hear one of the two say, hey, it's the third divorce, fourth divorce that I'm going through. What is it that I got to get? What is it I don't understand? Yeah. They finally have probably found a little part of their mind, heart, soul to question what's going on. What do I do? And when they understand that they tend to attract the same patterns, then you can change it. You can become more aware. You can become more conscious.
Got to learn from your mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's interesting because that was, as much as I could blame all my ex-girlfriend, I could blame them and say, I have to own, and you told me this, you have to own your part in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And break and learn what you've done so I don't repeat the same pattern. I think,
exactly.
I never forget what you told me. I remember when I got divorced, she's like, how long was it? I go, almost 10 years. Second one, 3 years. The other one, a year. She goes, you're getting better. Which I was able to pull the plug faster on it, but that's because I was like able to see the red flags faster. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Don't shove them under the rug.
But that's what I did. Even though I knew it and I was still working with you, I still did it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's hard because you're always kind of blaming yourself, especially when you're in a relationship. And maybe you can talk about this because this word is thrown often in couples. He's a narcissist. She's a narcissist. What is it to be dating a narcissist? I'm pretty sure I got one or two.
Usually, you meet somebody compatible. When I mean compatible here, I don't mean that it's good. I mean it fits the patterns.
Oh,
okay.
Can you say that again? Because I think it was amazing what you said.
When we meet somebody, we're attracted by somebody. We're attracted to something that we know, even if we don't remember or we're not conscious about it.
Okay.
All right. So we're attracted to somebody that usually is the opposite. If you have a woman who's very narcissistic, the guy is probably going to be a damn good guy syndrome, the nice guy, pays for everything.
So narcissist is going to pick his prey.
Yes, that too.
Yes.
It works both ways. Yeah. Okay. And whoever is not narcissistic is probably trying to accomplish, we call this...
savior?
Yes, a savior mode, definitely. Yeah. But they have seen a similar pattern somewhere in the past. They may not understand it, but they have a tendency to copy what's comfortable. Mm. And what you have to realize that our dear old brain, the little guy behind here, okay, the old brain is attracted by what it knows best, even if it's hurtful or painful. And this is what we have to do inner search and introspection to understand, why am I always attracted by a guy who's unfaithful to me? Where does that come from? Okay? So if I don't look within, I can't heal it. So it really starts, like you said, it starts within. And you did the work. I know you.
And it's interesting because I could probably say that I've attracted a few. And I used to also have that savior mentality. I'm going to save them.
Yes.
I'm going to be there. I'm going to be the nice guy.
Of course.
And it's a game. And when I think about it, maybe it was a game for me too, subconsciously.
There's also, you have to look at the culture. You're from a culture where usually, and no offense, I love you guys, but usually some cultures, men are more macho than other cultures. So you were probably subconsciously trying to counteract being macho. So what's the better way to not be macho but being a savior of these ladies? See what I mean? So I'm not saying it's exactly it, but it's an example, okay, of what probably men are going through, trying to not repeat something, but they're doing as bad as if they were,
So you said you've seen more men come to therapy.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Why do you think that's happening?
I think the newer generation is more open-minded. They have understood. They have shared with their friends or heard their friends say, boy, I went to see a therapist. That really was helpful. So it plants a seed that you don't have to see a therapist because you're crazy or loony bin.
It's not as much of a stigma, I think, as it used to be.
Yeah.
I remember coming to see 20 years ago. I was shy and scared to say it. I didn't tell anybody for years.
Yes.
I started saying it when I was 30, 35. And then at 40, it became kind of like everybody has a therapist. It's almost become trend now.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, I had somebody 20 years because people are like, how did you get like the way you are? I'm like, 20 years I've been doing this. They're like,
yes.
20 years? Really?
Yeah.
Like, did you have issues?
This is why you have to say this, not every week.
Yes. So I think it's important too that I say that because and it's one thing, like I've had, moments where I did 6-7 months stretch, then I would see you.
A few years I haven't seen you or you.
On and off. Yeah. And I remember at one point you told me you come see me when you need me. And I always tried to figure it out. And only when I was like, okay, I really can't fix this problem.
Yeah.
Even getting divorced, I remember I took 6 months to make the decision. I didn't want to make an emotional, irrational decision. I wanted to fight for my marriage. And I took 6 months. And then I decided, you know what? I'm going to pull the plug. Yeah. Then I remember I went back. Yeah. And I remember you told me, well, it's fine. And then you were still supporting me. You're like, and then I did it really official. It was like, I'm done. I'm out.
Because I don't believe in non-stop therapy. That becomes a crutch.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that at all. The same way, you don't bring your car to the garage every week, right? You bring it when you need it. So the same for humans. When you have done your own homework, and sometimes we find a glitch. I find that sometimes up to 90% we can see pretty darn clearly what's going on, but that little 5-10% that is, like a hidden mirror somewhere.
Yeah, blind spot.
Blind spot, thank you, that's the word I was looking for. Then we need somebody more objective or more capable of, helping us navigate through this.
I think, and I said a good partner will make you or break you. She will sink your ship so fast. And I think it's one of the most important decisions I told my son. He's, I'm already telling him these things. One of the most decisions, the partner you're going to pick, because, I feel like I'm super focused with where I'm going, and whether I was with a good partner, I was still going to go in my direction.
Yes,
where I am today. But I find with the right partner, it's easier, faster, smoother. I have somebody there. It's completely different. Happier.
It's a blessing.
By default, everything is easier because you have somebody there with you. And then when you have the opposite, it's completely draining and hard.
It's all uphill, yeah.
I tell couples, you're not becoming each other's therapist. You're becoming each other's inspiration.
That's good.
Okay? And one inspires the other one on some stuff, vice versa. We all have our strengths, a little bit more of our weaknesses. It's making it match that counts. Some stuff I wouldn't go to him, and you wouldn't come to me either. Some stuff we definitely go to each other most of the time. But some stuff sometimes, hey, my turn to call it my therapist, So, but as long as I think as the main course is that we can rely on each other, I think it's heaven,
Yeah. Don't take the other person for granted.
So many people do that.
I know it.
True.
That's lethal. It's terrible.
Yeah.
And I see that in couples. We take for granted because, and I always say, when you're, when you get married or when you're with somebody, especially when you get married, like for me, and hopefully that's the plan with my I call her my wife. I can't call her girlfriend. I can't put her in that list.
I understand.
I call her my wife. I can't call her girlfriend.
You'll find a new word.
It's. I feel like when people get married, they get complacent and they take it for granted. When I say you have to step up twice to the plate as much and be better, don't take the other person for granted.
Yeah.
True.
And you have to make yourself better too.
Absolutely.
In the relationship, and then it grows. You both grow.
True. Yeah, there's stuff in our union that I never thought I would work on. I've been a bit more independent, maybe. David is my first marriage at 58. So I sort of didn't really believe in marriage before.
Okay.
I had the first career in the judicial world that for me, marriage was the first requisite to a divorce, right? So for the longest time, but when we were, 10 years together, I think?
Yeah.
And David says, are we going to get married sometime? And I don't know. I was dumbfounded because he had said he'd never wanted to get married again because of his bad first marriage. So it stayed there for a year. And then he grabs me on the shoulder again. He said, when are we going to get married? And I have an expression in French, je passe le radar. I was passing the radar inside, trying to, if anything was catching or grabbing me or saying no or what. I just couldn't find anything. So we got married.
We did. It was very good. It was very settling. It was.
Yeah.
It was the right thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
How does see, when I have you both here, there's an energy and an aura that you feel from both of you.
Oh, good.
You feel it of calmness, peace.
Yes.
And you feel it, right?
Okay.
how do you keep that constantly there? Like, you know, what work or effort? Is it effort, or should it be just
it happens, and it's an outgrowth of how we relate to each other.
I don't think it's an effort as much as
I don't think it's an effort.
as an attitude. Like we've been 25 years, and we both thank each other for menial stuff.
I say that.
Yeah,
Wow, that's
part of not taking the other person for granted.
that's it. But it's also the attitude. I wasn't raised that way.
yeah.
So I planted myself, brainwashed myself to, hey, gratefulness, gratitude, say it, verbalize it,
Plus,
show it.
You pitch in
Yeah.
and you contribute to what's going on in the household. You don't just sit back and on the couch and expect, dinner and the dishes will be done and all that,
I say that, like, I mean, I look at it with my wife, like we still say thank you for a glass of water.
Anything.
And we say thank
agree.
you, please.
True.
Yeah.
I think this is like a baseline. I sometimes see couples who like, they use the F word on each other. They swear at each other.
We
Me
don't do
personally,
that.
I hear that and I'm like,
Ooh.
like maybe this is your standard, but me personally, it's not what I want in my house. It's not. I still think that it's toxic to be telling your wife, fuck you,
It
shut up,
is
sorry.
toxic. But you gave yourself that belief. You trained yourself to believe that this is how it should be. Thankful, gratitude, and pleasant, aimable, amicable. You trained yourself to believe that.
Or it's being in enough relationships to know that when you
That's
start
true.
speaking like that, when you start using this type of attitude,
True.
it's downhill.
I
Like
agree.
I've noticed that any girl I've dated and we started saying, well, if ever we break up or if ever we get, to me, I learned when people tell me about relationships, a lot of people come to me. I was with Costa, we were giving some guys some tips who just got out of a breakup. And the moment you start using, if we break up, if you leave, like it's already done. You've planted the seed. It's only going to multiply from there.
Totally agree with you.
Like this stuff should never be said
I agree.
to each other. So I always believe you need to keep a standard of respect
I totally agree with you.
with each other.
Yes. Because there will be some harder moments. And we went through some.
We have some disagreements and we have harder moments, but we don't do the things you were talking about that
absolutely.
are degrading.
Yeah, degrading, absolutely.
Exactly. No.
But you're right. People see it as passion. Oh, he loves me. He's fighting for me. He's swearing like.
It's degrading.
No.
And I was a little bit, when I was younger, that's what I thought. Right? As I get older, I got older and older and older. I also got away from that. I said, I definitely don't want that.
You probably witnessed it in your youth.
Yes, for sure.
So, you know.
True. It makes a lot of sense too that we look at our childhood and we're going to pick something that is somewhat. If you grew up in a toxic home,
True.
chances are you're going to pick a toxic partner. And
Yes.
it's familiar to you.
Unless you do the inner walking, you're going to reproduce more of the same.
And so, I mean, I'm going to change the topic only because I'm pretty sure our listeners are going to want to know, because we're talking about it with Costa and I'm giving this guy advice, how to overcome a breakup.
I think you make out like you break up, or you break up like you make out. I think if you are two mature persons, you're going to discuss, you're going to try to resolve, you're going to try to understand each other, you're going to go to therapy, you're going to try all you can. There's one expression, I don't watch TV much, but one day I stumbled on Dr. Phil, who had a bunch of 4 couples, I think, who were talking about divorce. And they were talking about their own situation. And Phil said, you have not deserved your divorce yet. You haven't worked on it enough. And I thought this was a great expression. And I retained it because I think most people divorce, poof, that's it, just like buying a car.
Right, yeah.
Bye. With the new age, people split up with a text.
Imagine, it's because it's easy. You're not facing the person. It's like, hey, I'm breaking up. It's over.
That's it. It's over. And then they ghost them.
Yeah, ghost, right?
You know that word too, huh?
Yes.
It's all the new.
Well, I have clients. I'm totally anti-social network. Okay, for all kinds of reasons, but my clients are. So I'm learning through them and from them, and I just can't believe what's going on. I think our biggest problem nowadays for the last 20 years, we have allowed technology to control us.
Good point.
Not the other way around. I think I allow technology to be of service to me. Emails, few texts, whatever, service. I don't search internet more than I have to, very rarely. I use it for my pleasure or service or work, not the other way around. And more people, I'm glad to hear, are dumping social networks.
Yeah.
Because they realize.
It's also all this fake pressure. Like you see a lot of people put on.
Terrible.
And I've noticed, I know couples that are, one of my friends is in a really bad relationship, and I see him and his girlfriend pictures, and I'm like, you guys look so happy. He goes, bro, it's a mess. Like, I'm going to leave her, like all this stuff. But on social media, people put, like when I broke up with one of the girls, he's like, you look so happy. I go, what did you want me to do? Put a picture of me and her arguing in the kitchen? Of course, I'm going to put like the best moments. Everybody does that. But then other people are intimidated and say, look how happy they are. How come we're not like that?
Oh, yeah. It's like, it was on the news, this young couple, they took cross-country trip, and they post all these, they're here, they're there, they're so happy. Halfway through the trip, he kills her. A month and a half later, he's shot himself in the head, and they find him. I forget all the names. But it's your online posting is just this phony movie that you want the world to see you as, and it's totally fake. And everybody, just like you say, such a wonderful couple. No. Behind it is...
It's interesting, and I don't know if I'm wrong with what I'm going to say. When I was in all these toxic relationships, I would put so many pictures to show how happy I am. Now I love my wife to death. I
don't need to.
I don't feel like I have the need to. I don't need to show it. I don't care. Actually, I want to keep it private.
Yeah. Good for you.
I don't need to share it with other people, what I'm going, where I'm going, and what I'm doing. And also, I'm living that happy moment with her. I'm more it's more important how I'm living with her than how I'm showing I'm actually living.
So you're not allowing yourself to distract yourself uselessly.
Yeah.
Uselessly?
Yeah.
Okay. Denmark a few years ago did an interesting research. They took a group of people like me, not even on Facebook, and they took a bunch of people, a group that are 4 or 5 hours a day on Facebook. The group on Facebook had 80% more stress than the other group.
Just because of the social media.
No doubt.
It's a competition. It's not a sharing.
No.
A big difference.
And like you said, they share everything, relationships and the house and the car and the kids and the dog, and they're doing all this stuff.
But they don't do it as an honest sharing. They do it as a competition and a fake portrayal.
Or show off. Look what I have.
Exactly.
Yeah. True.
Exactly.
And so we talked, when you break up with somebody, how do you get over it? How do you get over a breakup?
You need time.
2 years.
Is what
2 years. I remember you told me, you had told me it's going to take you at least a year.
I remember. Yeah.
You told me you got to do one Christmas, one this, one that, 1 year.
It's a kind of bereavement. It's the first everything. Sorry, guys. It's the first everything. And it's also looking within. It's like a grieving. It's like if you lost somebody, it depends who leaves who also and how it's done.
Good point.
Sometimes people say, oh, phew, thank God she left me. Why? All kinds of stuff. But why didn't you leave? I didn't want the odious to be the one who left.
So many people have talked about this, where they're expecting the other person to leave. Because why is that? Is it the ego? Is it the...
It's a learned behavior and it's a bit of a stigma in our society. The one who leaves, man or woman, is usually the faulty one. That's still quite big.
Wow.
Whereas if you are mature, you can both decide, okay, maybe one would say, I would prefer to stay in. The other one might say, well, it's over for me. Yeah. But then what are you going to do? Tie the other one that wants to leave? Right. So it takes an awful lot of maturity to simply, eat your pain, swallow your sadness, because you will have all those emotions, and whether you're man or woman, you have to face them.
Do you think, maybe it's a silly question, do you think it's harder on men than women?
It depends for what the breakup is.
Really, it's that, it's cheating or something.
Or whatever, yeah, exactly. Or I find somebody...
individual, I think.
Or I found somebody cuter than you. Oh, yeah. All kinds of stupid reasons out there.
So I have a question. Is midlife crisis an actual thing? I'm a trainer. I have a lot of clients. A lot of my clients, 50, 60, millionaires, multimillionaires, married 30 years, they leave their wives and they're with a 20-year-old, 30-year-old, whatever. Is a midlife crisis an actual thing?
No. To my opinion, there's no such thing as a midlife crisis. There's such a thing as I never looked deeply enough in my life to deal with what was going on, and then poof, volcano happens. I fall in love. I'm faithful for 20 years, but poof, new secretary comes in, and you fall in love. Why? You never looked at what was not going on in your relationship. You worked 100 hours a week. You swipe stuff under the carpet. And then something triggers you to realize that you're not happy. It's not a midlife crisis.
Do you think some men maybe simply feel they want to feel younger again, and the way to do that is to take up with a younger woman? And in a way, that would be a midlife crisis. I don't know how prevalent that is.
To my opinion, and I have had those men in my office who fall for the secretary or somebody elsewhere. And of course, you know me, Nick, I'm a bit confrontational.
Yes, that's why I love you. I think.
So I asked the hard questions. How was your marriage?
Couldn't have been that good. Yeah.
It was like a good 15 years. We did not even make love, blah, blah, blah. Hey, wake up. Yeah. Why didn't you wake up 15 years ago that something was not going on? Why didn't you go and treat yourself or go to the therapist and find out? Yeah. It accumulates, and then poof, that's the crisis. It has nothing to do with midlife crisis. It has to do with the crisis of that person.
A relationship crisis.
Yeah.
I think it's bad when obviously they cheat. I think that's a whole other...
Of course.
You know what I mean? I always say if you're going to get out of a relationship, I mean, that's one thing. I'm even when I got divorced, I got out of the divorce with my head up high.
Yeah.
I never cheated. I never did any of that stuff. Yeah. And I remember saying to myself, I always want to walk out with my head up high. One, for me. Two, to be able to look at my son and say, you know what? I walked out of this relationship, and no matter how bad it was and during the divorce and everything, I never cheated on you because that's not the example I ever wanted to give my son. Because I think it's not what we say, it's what we do. And I always wanted to have I wanted to have that where I could look at him and say, you know what? I don't condone, I don't want this. This is not what I want to show my son in terms of how to treat a woman, because I think it's wrong.
What you call that is integrity. Self-respect. Yeah. It starts right there. If you don't have that, if you don't know how to nurture this, how to develop it, you're not going to have it. That's it. First déclencheur, first trigger, she's cute, poof, go in bed with her. That's not, for me, that's not a way to live. That's a way to react. You're not living, you're surviving. So,
and the key is to pick a partner who also has integrity.
You nailed it. Yeah, okay. That's what it is.
It's got to be two.
Yes.
It's got to be two.
Very true.
That is a tricky thing, and a lot of life experience goes into how to make that choice. And like I say, when you're younger, I don't think you're making the choices that well.
Yeah.
And with a little life experience, I think you make better and better choices.
Can I share an expression that you told me a long time ago?
Shoot.
No. See, sorry, I want to hear it, but I was watching this show called Love Is Blind and not Love Is Blind. Yeah, Love Is Blind, and they were showing couples that were married for 40 years, whatever. It's a stupid show. I watch it while I do something else.
Yeah.
And the one thing they all did, they all laughed, they all joked, they all had fun.
That's it.
That was like
Yeah.
the source.
Yeah.
They always bantered a little bit with always respectfully, but you know what I mean?
Of course.
But with like love and kindness.
Yeah.
Yeah. David has had a long career as a radiologist. So when we met, of course, you know me, I'm a talker and I'm a questioner and I need to understand and find out. And so, of course, he went through a 5th degree of questioning. And then at one point I said, what do you think? What do you think you chose her, you know? He says, well, I had A in medicine and I had F in life.
Yeah.
Imbalance.
Imbalance. True.
Imbalance.
Too many hours in the library and not enough hours out in society.
And learning life, you know? Yeah.
Because you could be a very educated person, very good in that area, and the rest really be lost.
Doesn't qualify you for anything else.
Yeah.
Just only what you studied.
Yeah.
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 And I say, like, you know, you could, to me, I think the truth of happiness is the quality of your relationships. I really believe that.
I agree.
Relationship, your wife, your kids, the community you've created around you.
True.
The money, yes, it's nice. You have money, you don't. How much do you need? But at the end, I realize that doesn't actually bring you happiness. It's going to make your life a little bit easier.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's great to have it, but at the end, I'll take my relationship with my wife, my friends, over $100 million any day.
Totally.
Any day. I'd be like, no, I'm good where I am right now.
Totally
I
agree.
wouldn't exchange it for anything.
Totally
And it's
agree.
bad because in social media, we're sold the opposite.
Oh,
The car, the this, the that. We see that and we think, I used to think growing up, because I
Of course.
grew up
We've all been there, I think.
poor, not with a lot. I thought, oh, if I was going to be rich, if I become rich, if I have money, I'm going to be happy. And I realized, even though I made more money throughout my life, I was always chasing for something, but there was always an emptiness.
Yes, yes.
But when you find the right partners, the right friends, it feels like everything is full. You know, your joie de vivre, your life,
Absolutely.
everything glows. You know, your smile,
Absolutely.
your attitude.
And that's healthy.
That's healthy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's the key to living a long, happy life.
Yeah.
Just having a right partner and
There's great research and studies on there.
On?
That are on
you live
lon-
longer. You're happy in a good relationship and friends and your community. You live longer.
longevity.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, David.
Thank you.
Longevity is definitely based on a sense of purpose, feeling you're of service. You love somebody. It can be a cat. It doesn't need to be a person. You love somebody. Somebody returns that love to you. You feel a sense of purpose. That's longevity, and much healthy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get to about 100 here.
oh,
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
but so I want to talk about something else. Are you guys still sailing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Still sailing.
Oh, yeah.
Well, COVID would put a little dent on that, but now it's over. We're started
The
again.
border was terrible, but yes, we're still sailing.
Yeah.
Take the sailboat out and you just
Yeah.
This is my dream.
Float.
Buy a little boat.
We'll have to invite you someday.
Oh, I would love it. Go to
Yeah.
Greece, take the boat and sail through the islands. That would be something I want to do.
Yeah.
Not quite that far, but
Lake Champlain is good for now.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
So, guys, I want to thank you for watching this episode of Have the Balls to Talk About It. This is gold right here. Like, it's, you know, yes, we have your expertise as a therapist, but you also have this together.
Yes.
And I think
Yes.
it's one thing saying it. It's another thing actually being able to deliver and be be the reflection of what it is to actually live what you're saying, you know?
You know, some of my friends a long time ago used to tell me, "Oh, Pauline, you're too demanding in a relationship. It's not going to happen. This is good for movies." And my reply would be, "Well, I'm pretty darn happy by myself. It's going to remain that way because I'm not going to compromise and be half happy to have somebody." And I never, ever regretted that. I stuck to my words. Wow. And it paid off.
Paid off.
You guys are so cute.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you. It was a pleasure.
Guys, thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you,
on the
Nick.
show. I'm going to put your link on the bottom if
Sure.
anybody wants to reach out. It's 20 years, so it's an honor to have you here.
You're true.
You've been the most influential person in my life. You've helped me, you've guided me, you've mentored me, you've been there by my side. It's forever I will be grateful.
Never forget, you wanted.
Yes. It's a lot of work, guys, by the way. Don't go see her if you're not ready to put in the work. You're going to get kicked out of the office.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Nick.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching.